The history of Cambodia, a country in mainland Southeast Asia, begins with the earliest evidence of habitation around 5000 BCE. Detailed records of a political structure on the territory of what is now Cambodia first appear in Chinese annals in reference to Funan, a polity that encompassed the southernmost part of the Indo-Chinese peninsula during the 1st to 6th centuries. Centered at the lower Mekong, Funan is noted as the oldest regional Hindu culture, which suggests prolonged socio-economic interaction with maritime trading partners of the Indosphere in the west. By the 6th century, a civilization called Chenla or Zenla in Chinese annals firmly replaced Funan as they controlled larger, more undulating areas of Indochina and maintained more than a singular center of power. The Khmer Empire was established by the early 9th century. Sources refer here to a mythical initiation and consecration ceremony to claim political legitimacy by a founder at Mount Hulen in 802 CE. A succession of powerful sovereigns, continuing the Hindu cult tradition, reigned over the classical era of Khmer civilization until the 11th century. A new dynasty of provincial origin introduced Buddhism, which according to some scholars resulted in royal religious discontinuities and general decline. The royal chronology ends in the 4th century. 14th century, Great achievements in administration, agriculture, architecture, hydrology, logistics, urban planning, and the arts are testimony to a creative and progressive civilization. In its complexity, a cornerstone Southeast Asian cultural legacy. The decline continued through a transitional period of approximately 100 years, followed by the middle period of Cambodian history, also called the post-Angkor period, beginning in the mid-15th century, although the Hindu cults had by then been all but replaced. The monument sites at the old capital remained an important spiritual center. Yet, since the mid-15th century, the core population steadily moved to the east and, with brief exceptions, settled at the confluence of the Mekong and Tonle Sap rivers at Chachumok, Lolongvek, and Udong. Maritime trade was the basis for a very prosperous 16th century, but as the result, foreigners, Muslim Malays, and Cham, Christian European adventurers and missionaries, increasingly disturbed and influenced government affairs. Ambiguous fortunes, a robust economy on the one hand, and a disturbed culture and comprised royalty on the other were constant fears of the Longvek era. By the 15th century, the Khmer's transitional neighbors, the Mon people in the west and the Cham people in the east, had gradually been pushed aside or replaced by the resilient Siamese Thai and Annamese Vietnamese, respectively. These powers had perceived, understood, and increasingly followed the imperative of controlling the lower Mekong basin as a key to control all of Indochina. A weak Khmer Empire kingdom only encouraged the strategists in Bangkok, and in Hu attack on and conquest of Khmer royal residences left sovereigns without a ceremonial and legitimate power base. Inference in succession and marriage policies added to the decay of royal prestige. Odong was established in 1601 as the last royal residence of the Middle Period. The 19th century arrival of the European colonial powers, with concrete policies of global control, put an end to regional feuds, and as Siam/Thailand escaped colonization as a buffer zone, Vietnam was to be the focal point of French colonial ambition. Cambodia, although largely neglected, had been colonized by the Indo-Chinese Union, given a perceived entity, and was able to carry and reclaim its identity. Following the Japanese occupation during World War II, which coincided with the investiture of King Sihanouk, the era of modern Cambodian history began. The Kingdom of Cambodia, independent since 1953, struggled to remain neutral in a world shaped by polarization of the nuclear powers, the United States and Soviet Union. As the Indochina War escalated and Cambodia became increasingly involved, the Khmer Republic resulted in 1970, and another result was a civil war, which by 1975 ended with a takeover by the Khmer Rouge. Cambodia endured its darkest hour, democratic Kampuchea, and the long aftermath of Vietnamese occupation, the People's Republic of Kampuchea, and the UN mandate towards modern Cambodia since 1993. During the past 30 years, before 2000, was definitely the hardest part of modern Cambodia's history, especially with a near genocide happening in Cambodia and millions of dying, not from just the French, but the Japanese and the Vietnamese, both North and South. Cambodia has not had a very good modern history. But after 1993, the nation has been more prosperous than it has in a while. Cambodia has been Cambodia is second or third to Thailand and maybe Vietnam in tourism. The Angkor Wat is a very big tourist destination in all of Asia. Cambodia joined the ASEAN Union, which is the Southeastern Asian economic union between nations such as Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Burma, Laos, Singapore, and a few more, and it has been very helpful on the Cambodian economy. That is it for the history of Cambodia. I'm going to start making these more brief because the titles are not very descriptive history of blank, but simplified history of blank. So I'm going to make these videos simplified and not drawn out. Like the Bulgaria video was 30 minutes, this one's like near 10 minutes. So time for stats. The area of Cambodia is roughly 181,000 square kilometers. The population is nearly 17.5 million people. The GDP is roughly 43 billion US dollars, and per capita is around 2,500 US dollars. That is the end of the simplified history of Cambodia.